It's me. I would totally worry about the stress.
Hey, Peachy Smoking, how's it hanging? Not done yet? Okay. Alright, who's ready for this? I know I am. Hello, everyone. So, we're gonna start out with this one's a new one, it's only from like an hour ago. It's Kalani, it's one of my favorite YouTubers, and apparently there's new updates regarding alts. Let's find out.
Hey folks, this is Kalani. The dev team just unveiled a roadmap for the rest of the Shadowlands testing phase, which gives us a better idea of what the game is going to look like come October 27th. We have news on how covenants are going to work, for real this time. There are huge changes to how alts are going to play in the new expansion, and we won't have to rely on RNG when it comes to sockets. So let's break it all down. Now before we get started today, I'm happy to announce that we have some beta keys to give away, and we're going to go do that on Twitter because it's so much easier when compared to trying to run something on YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description and in the comment section below so you can hop on over to Twitter, check all of the entry requirements,
Well, I know
and
what
get
I'm
yourself
doing
lined
after
up for a
this.
chance at a beta key. I'll also be giving a handful of beta keys away in my next few streams, so be sure to pop by twitch.tv/KalaniTV for another chance at beta. We go live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 12 p.m. PST, and we always love chatting with you wonderful folks, so I hope to see you soon. Let's start with the Covenant news, because I know a lot of players are interested and anxious to learn how this is shaping up. As of right now, there are no plans to hashtag pull the ripcord. If you're not too sure what that means, in one of his earlier interviews, Ian stated that they would go forward with covenants being restricted. That was the plan. You can only pick one at a time, join one at a time, you can only use one set of powers at a time. But they had a ripcord, quote unquote, in place, and if they needed to pull that to enable free swapping of covenants or covenant powers and just open the entire system up, that's something they can do. With this statement, the dev team have locked in covenants as they are. When you hit max level, you get to pick one of the 4 covenants and progress their story, unlock their goodies, and you have access to their powers and their powers only. So no changes there, which I know a lot of high-end players aren't too happy about. Freely swapping covenants would ensure that there's essentially no wrong option, because you can swap back and forth as often as you want. A lot of players argue that that removes choice and you actually don't have a meaningful option there, but this discussion has gone back and forth multiple times at this point, and this is where we have ended up. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all.
Dang. See, I'm kind of in between. I don't think it's a problem that you have to pick. I just think 2 weeks is too long. I think if you, as long as you could grind it within a week, that would be fine because it's like I get where people are saying that like some abilities are better in certain content. Well, most people have like a main content that they do, and if they don't, then they're probably not playing it like. Then they probably don't need that extra boost. I get the whole problem of people are going to be elitist little bitches with getting people in groups and being like, "Ooh, you don't have the right covenant, go away." But I don't really think that's going to be a problem. High-end players are going to pick the best option for them, and the people who it's a problem for are the people that are kind of, I guess you'd say, middle. They're in the middle between the the hardcore ish. I hate using that term, but like the people who go hard and the people who are completely casual, and that's a lot of times where I fall. Is like I'm not I'm not always on a mythic team. I don't always want to be on a mythic team, but I care about my power and my progress. And so if I'm stuck in a spot where I'm going to be having to pug, used to this wasn't a problem for me in the guild that I'm in, but because I'm on the horde branch of it, which is much smaller, I've kind of grown back into this problem where you have to be able to get into pugs, and so you have to display your knowledge, so to speak. just by what you're wearing, how you're wearing it, and the choices you've made. So I see what they mean about they need to have some sort of choice. You almost always, in every expansion, have to make some sort of pathway decision or, something. And it's usually so freaking obvious what you gotta do. And this time, there's just enough ambiguity about it. And I don't like the fact that they've tied this, zone to it. I don't like the way covenants work, but I don't completely disagree with the devs that there needs to be some sort of lock-in. I just disagree with how far they've locked it in. So if, say, the reason I say within a week is because the people that care the most, that really actually need that tiny boost of power, are going to be able to go say, one power is better for one boss and another power is better for the next. They go, okay, well, we've killed this guy, we're starting prog on the next guy. Everybody goes, everybody switch to whatever covenant is best for the next boss, and they'd be able to grind it within the week. I mean, yeah, it'd be a pain in the butt, but that's part of Mythic. That's why Mythic is Mythic, and I have no problem with that. I mean, yeah, you might get some crying about it, but I would understand the dev's point of view there. This way, just 2 weeks just seems so random, and not in a good way. It's like, why 2 weeks? I don't understand. There's nothing else that's ever been. It's either been so far out, like a month of grinding, that it's an obvious either don't do it or, only casuals will do it because they're the only ones with the time to do that. And I don't mean time to play, I mean time to make that choice, ability to commit to a long-term choice like that without pushback from, that peer pressure you. Anyway, carrying on.
Plays out, if the vast majority of the player base really dislikes being locked into covenants so heavily, I imagine we will see changes somewhere down the line in patch 9.1 or 9.2. Hopefully this expansion doesn't turn into another case of too little too late, kind of like how the corruption system and corruption vendor ended up. Personally, I think the covenant system won't be the make or break for Shadowlands, and if you really want to swap your covenant because you made the wrong choice, swapping actually isn't too bad. You can pop back to Oribos, have a chat with a different covenant, and swap right there and then. There's literally no barrier for entry when it comes to swapping covenants for the first time. There is a bit of a barrier for swapping back to a covenant you have previously left though. For example, if you start with Bastion and Kyrian and you think, nah, you know what? I want to hang out with the Necro Lords instead. They seem cool. So you hop on over to the Necro Lords. As easy as that. You might have a bit of catching up to do with Renown, but outside of that it's a painless transition. But after a week or so, you're really missing your Kyrian buddies. They were the ones who really jived with you, so you decide to swap back.
So sweet.
Herein lies the problem. The wait, the restriction on covenant swapping. To go back to the Kyrians, you'll have to progress through a 2-week long quest. That's a 2-week time gate in that you have 2 quests and you only get 1 per week, not it's going to take 2 weeks of playtime to actually swap. In reality, the quests are very simple. You just need to do a few favors for your covenant, but it's very inclusive of what it counts. You can do dungeons, you can do world quests or bonus objectives. You have a progress bar that you have to fill, and a lot of different busy work will count towards completing it. From the big blue post we learn that these quests are not designed to be another grind. They're not supposed to take that long. They're more symbolic, enforcing a 2-week waiting period, so you should be able to get them done without too much extra effort on your part, but you'll have to wait the 2 weeks to actually pick up both quests. 2 weeks might seem like a long time for some players who want to swap around willy-nilly, but they could have made this much, much worse, or a lot more grindy. The good news is that you don't lose access to your current covenant while you're on these quests. So even if you're leaving the Necrolords for the Kyrian, until you finish the quest and join the Kyrian again properly, you're supposed to still have access to your Necrolord stuff. This is how the covenant system will work when the game goes live, unless someone manages to change the dev team's time in the next couple of weeks. Another very cool change coming with the launch of Shadowlands is the separation of pre-patch and launch day builds. Typically we get pretty much everything the game needs to go live with the pre-patch, and then the dev team just needs to flip a switch to let us start progressing through the new expansion. The main drawback for this approach was a shorter deadline. essentially. The game had to be done and ready before the pre-patch date rather than before the launch date. So they're changing things up this time. Patch 9.0.1 will be our pre-patch, with the Scourge Invasion, the Argent Crusade, the return to Ice Crown, the level squish, the leveling changes, item level changes, all the real big changes coming to the game. And then 9.0.2 will come afterwards with the Shadowlands content. This gives the dev team another 4 weeks to work on the game, basically, and to polish up as much as they possibly can. I think this is a really smart move, and probably something that should have been done much earlier, but I guess they really felt like they needed those extra 4 weeks for the Shadowlands expansion specifically. I know this one is going to be close. We all kind of knew Shadowlands was going to be close, but hopefully it's not too close and we actually do get a finished game ready to play on launch day. I know I've said that Shadowlands will be a completely different experience for alts and significantly better when compared to BFA, but the dev team just took this one step further. Previously, in Shadowlands beta builds, when you arrived in Oribos on an alt after finishing everything on your main character, you could pick your Covenant straight away and just pick which zones to do in whatever order you wanted. This had a few hiccups. The first was, quite simply, it felt weird to progress through the story of a Covenant you had already joined. You've got all the goodies, you're an honorary member already, but you have to go through the same process and learn about them after joining them. It doesn't make too much sense. And then the other weird thing was doing the zones in any order didn't make too much sense either because of how the story is set up. So they changed it. And oh my gosh, alts will never be the same again. When you arrive in Oribos on an alt now, you can choose to continue your adventures as if you were there for the first time, working your way through each zone, playing with each Covenant, testing out the Covenant abilities, all that jazz, and just leveling up as normal. Or, and I hope you're sitting down because this might just blow you away, or you can skip the entire thing. You can choose to start your alt adventures as if you had completed the entire storyline of Shadowlands, and you can just go ahead and pick your Covenant. You can literally play this like New Game Plus. Your alts are treated as alts, additional characters in the same story, rather than a new character all on its own. Of course, you can choose to go through the story again if that's what you want, but if you fancy just popping straight to endgame with this alt, you can do that as well. If you skip the storyline, you'll still need to level up, but the dev team has said that they will implement bonus objectives where major quest lines used to be to help with that process. We have no idea if this will be significantly faster or not, but the real key here is that you can start progressing on endgame goals on your alts right.
Or, hear me out now, or just do the damn dungeons. This has always been a problem that I've had with my healer alts. I don't want a freaking quest on them. I'm more than capable of just running dungeons and getting all the way to max on dungeons. And hang on. Okay. There was a malfunction there. It's so frustrating because then you'd be locked out of so many things that were always put behind quest walls. So I'm super happy that they're getting rid of that. And there might be some hiccups, there might be some weirdness, but I'm more than willing to deal with some hiccups and some weirdness that they can iron out to be able to just do what I've always done and not have to pay for it at in-game.
Right from the start. You can pick a Covenant, you can start working on farming anima, you can earn renown, unlock endgame content, even do world quests, all while you work on getting up to level 60. That is pretty bonkers in my opinion. So not only will Shadowlands be a fantastic expansion to play your alts because of no RNG and gear and no major endless grind to keep up with on every character, but you can get a huge head start on your alts progression right from the moment they arrive in Oribos.
Yeah.
And if you want to, you can skip the storyline so you also don't have to take every single alt through each zone again and again and again.
You managed to pick
this is a massive change for alts, and it's going to make playing more alts much eager. Speaking of RNG in gear, the last big point I want to cover in this video is about sockets.
Like,
with Warforging, Titan Forging and Corruption gone, the only random factor left on gear is sockets. This was still a minor annoyance because sockets are still incredibly powerful. You're going to want them.
Sorry, what? It is... No, that's your patient name. I don't want to... Sunday Driver? Is that the name of it?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, they didn't put their little sticker on there this time.
No, not this time.
Okay. Ready? I mean, worst case, it went in there. All right, sorry.
This is actually something
Yeah.
we feel like patch
Throw you-
8.3 did
I would
right.
be in
You could
such-
buy sockets from Rathian and
Such
put
hot
on
water,
any
I
piece of
threw
gear
your
that you
weed in the
wish.
trash.
Well, that's actually been brought forward into Shadowlands. You'll once again be able to buy your sockets for
Look at your chat. That would be me.
your gear, so getting a socket randomly isn't this massive RNG power gain, it's actually more of a convenience, time-saving reward. You can get that socket eventually if you farm enough of the currency that we will need, but getting it randomly saves you a bit of time and effort. The end game goal for a best in slot list will be the same. Get all of your best in slot items with a socket included, but now you can work towards that yourself with a
Oh my God, is
meaningful
that a
progression
tameable?
path.
Is
You
that
don't
a
have
new
to grind out the
tameable?
dungeons time and time
That
again.
is so
You don't have to hope for
pretty.
the luckiest of lucky drops from the raid. You can get the item in its base
Time out. Wow, Potopia, where you at? I don't want WoW head. I want WoW dash Potopia. Hang on, there's classic. Do they not have a Shadowlands? Here we go. Preview. Meow. Hey, come on. Here we go. New families in Shadowlands. Camels, coursers, mammoths. And then oh, we got all sorts of new stuff. Okay, I don't really care about the alpacas and the camels. I mean, well, we'll look at alpacas because they're sure to be cute. These I've seen the unicorn things, but we've seen those. New Elix, new mammoths. Who cares? Dread bats. Let's look at those. Maw roaches. Sure, then we'll look at that. Death rock. We've got some new pigs. A flightless terror claw. Okay, I gotta see that. New chimeras, Rylax, crabs, cranes. A skeletal devil star. Okay, we gotta look at that. Beast abominations. New dark hounds. I've seen the new dark hound on PTR, but I'll show it on here. Ooh, what's a soul seeker? Let's look at that. Feather manes. Ooh. Okay. A new fox. Crowless. Here, I don't care about them. Snapdragons. Yeah, we've seen those. Look at this new mechanical. Glimmer flies. Let's look at that. There's a new Quillin. New Ravissars. Manta rays. A maw rat. Let's take a look at that. Serpents. Astral cloud serpents. Celestial cloud serpents. Okay, we got some more snakes. New shale worm. New silithids. Oh, getting Kunchong. Cool. Some spiders, stags, giraffes, and rune stags. Cool. Toads! We're finally getting toads! Oh my god! I'm gonna look at that. Oh my god. Ah! Ether worms. And a skeletal wind serpent. Saber warg. Tidal worm. Okay, let's look at these things. Okay, alpacas. Yeah, we know what they look like. They're cute. They're adorbs. Oh, you get one with a harness? Sweet. Okay, that is very cool. I like that. What are these? New bats, eh? Dread bats. Let's take a look at this one. Oh, nice. I mean, if you're into the whole gothic gargoyle thing, he's perfect. Okay. Yeah, you like, oh, cool. It's like a shale spider, but in beetle form.
Whoa.
That's
Like the
nifty.
green. I like the green.
Yeah. Next. Death rocks. They appear to be bone birds.
Kind of like a skeletal dragon, but not.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's their thing, but that's not for me.
Yeah.
Pretty. We get the pretty bodies. Oh, he's so cute. It's like an upgraded version of the red and black one that I have.
Reminds me of one of the birds from Ark.
Oh, nice. Okay, it's these guys. Oh, sweet. These are going to be perfect for troll hunters. Awesome. And you can, like, mog to match it and everything. Okay, what do these guys are? Beast Abominations. Oh, and there's the Soul Seekers, too. I guess there's not that many of them. And Skeletal Hellhound.
Ooh, I like the Hellhound.
You like the Hellhound? Back up. I came here for the Ghostly Red Beast Abomination. Not loving that as much. It's like, it looks more like old school WoW graphics than new school WoW graphics. The feet are bugging me. I don't like it. Okay, moving on. Oh, what are you sorry about, BB Pig? Oh, okay, that's fine. Everybody gets an opinion. But thank you for the follow anyway. Mwah. Okay, yeah, these guys. I picked one of these up on PTR. I love it. It actually looks better, I think, than this picture. Is really nice. It's a major upgrade from the old Hellhound. Or Dark Hound, whatever you want to call it. Soul Seekers. Yeah, I scrolled up to these on accident just a second ago. Okay, that is freaking cool. It's like an invisible pet, but with armor. That is awesome. Hey, it looks like you're doing a good job learning it. Oh, these... Check these out! Wow! Oh, man. I hope we get these in mount form, too. That is gorgeous.
Oh, the griffins.
It's, yeah, it's just like a super upgraded griffin, but better. That's awesome. Back. Let's look at another color. I want to see the blue, too. Yeah, stream didn't end. It probably paused. Oh, so pretty. Alright, moving on.
That's just his...
Owl steeds. Oh. Geef. Geef, pretty bird horse. I want the mount, I want the pet, I want all of it. Oh. Beautiful. New foxes called Vulpin. I saw those before too. I mean, they're cool. They're not really my thing, but they're very cool. If I had a Volpera, I would definitely have a couple of those though. Back up, back up, back up. Let's get a different color. Got spectral. We'll see the foxy colored one. They're very nice. I don't know. The more I look at them, the more they grow on me. But yeah. I do love the ones with the, like, runic markings. Yes, I understood.
Trust me, we figured it out.
What are you up to today, though, Vivi? Or however you say it. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Ooh, check it, check it, check it.
Just call him Pig.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Is it a mechanical? Yes, it's a mechanical. Sweet. Oh, man. I just see all the little mechanome hunters running around with those. This, like, everything I hear about play in this expansion, I'm always a little, I want it to be good, but I'm a little worried. But, man, the graphics are going to be freaking amazing.
Check out the purple. Yeah.
Yes.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, you knew I was going for pink purple. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh. Oh. From a distance, I'm not loving this, but I can see certain transmog setups actually working with that. All right, moving on. Gargons. Okay, so it's basically a new bear. Bear dog pig. We've got man bear pig. We officially have a man bear pig.
Man baby. Gargan?
Gargon.
Gargon.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just reading the same thing you are.
Yeah.
But yep, definitely man bear pig. Okay.
Well, you know more about the pronunciation than I do.
Yeah. Alright, so now these are called maw rats. They're in the rodent family. And I don't even know what the fuck. Doesn't look anything like a rat. I don't know, that's weird. No.
Might be a good summon for my warlock.
Yeah, that would make more sense as a warlock pet, I think, than a hunter pet. These are hunter pets.
Oh.
We get Sparkle Dragon. We get Sparkle Dragon. Sparkle Dragon. That's exciting. And these guys. And these guys.
Oh, the green.
You want to see the green?
Please.
These ones aren't tameable yet, but they're in the game. But that could change.
It's like a jade dragon.
It is. It's a well, cloud serpent's what they call them, but yeah, basically Chinese dragon. Oh yeah, yeah. You would actually level a hunter for that, wouldn't you?
God, yes.
Yep.
For that? Oh, please.
We get toads. We get toads. We finally get toads. Ah!
Yeah, the dire toad has the same look, I'm thinking.
The dire toad. Oh yeah, that thing. I think you can get that as a mount as well.
Yeah, his whole facial expression is my reaction to toads.
Okay, so this looks like what he had. I don't know what color he had. It's an ether worm? Ether worm? Whatever. Oh. Wish I could see the 360, but I don't want to pull WoW head just to do that. That is so freaking pretty, man. I think they expanded the stable space, so that's good, because I'm gonna need it. Yeah, those guys. I'm surprised they made them tameable, but it's cool. Alright. Alright,
I
tameable.
like that one.
Huh?
That kind of orangey skeletal dragon looking thing you had.
Yeah, it's like it's a snake with wings, but then it's the snake skeleton with wings. Okay, so let's go back to our video. I just got
Slide
completely
non-socketed
distracted
form,
by his
then
pet
work on
there.
a socket and slap it on there. This is a huge addition to the already fantastic gearing changes in Shadowlands. Now we literally have zero reliance on RNG for our gear progression. Getting a socket randomly might help a bit, but it's not the only road we can travel. The vendor for sockets this time around is going to be Venari. If you're not too sure who this is, they are a broker in the Moor. They help us get into Torghast for the first time, actually. Interesting little tidbit. And they sell a few items that might help us survive the horrors of the Moor zone a little bit longer. With the socket vendor being in the Moor, that might also give us more reason to actually spend time in the zone, farming the currency specific to the Moor, which previously we didn't have too much of a reason. So that's kind of cool too. If this is the case, the Moor is going to be one very busy place. Everyone's going to want their sockets. Alongside these changes, we'll also see some restrictions on which pieces of gear can actually have sockets, either
No
randomly
surprise
rolled
there.
when you get a piece of loot, or when you try to add a socket from the vendor. The current plan is to only have sockets available for helms, rings, necks, bracers, and belts. So 6 items total when you consider that we can wear 2 rings. That's not too many items when you think about it. The main reason for this is apparently to reduce the gap between a player with full sockets and a player with none. And I mean, it's certainly going to do that. It's 6 sockets down from, what, 16? On one hand, you won't
Yeah,
have to
nobody
farm
has
sockets to put on
16
every single
sockets.
piece of gear, which is kind of nice. But on the other hand, you have access to less sockets. You're going to be less powerful at your absolute tippy top. But either way, I'm just really happy that we have another source of sockets that is not tied to RNG. And that's all of the news we have for right now. Some massive changes here for sure. Sockets will be something we can work towards again, Brilliant change there, and alts are being treated like alts instead of secondary mains. But what do you think from what you've seen so far? Do you like the option of skipping the story on characters after your first run through?
Yes.
And how do you feel about Covenant going live with a 2-week cooldown on rejoining one that you've
week,
left
but it's not the
before?
end of the world.
Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, if you want a chance at some of those beta keys, be sure to pop by our Twitter. You'll find a link in the comments and in the description straight to the giveaway. And if that's not enough for you, there's a few more up for grabs on the stream. If that's of interest, you can find us over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV.
Okay, let's go down and look at this. Okay, twitch.tv. Oh no, that's not what we want. Show more. Giveaway. Here we go. Twitter.com/linesofkalani, and then it takes off from there. Okay, so opening that up, but then I'm bringing in the next react video. Top 10 oddball NPCs from Hiruma.
Over NPCs in WoW who are memorable for their oddball behaviors, usually because they do something humorous or because they're incredibly dumb. And at number 10, we have Calder Grey, who we first meet in the Southern Barrens in Cataclysm. This Forsaken NPC is a quest giver who basically has you gather parts for him to create an abomination. And if you talk to him, he'll tell you how he was unceremoniously booted from Orgrimmar for no reason, and how that made him drop a whole bunch of his fresh jars of body parts on his way out, which no one paid him for, acting as if he was some kind of monster. But fortunately, he was able to continue his work in the Southern Barrens. So he has you go out and just pick out body parts. It doesn't matter which ones, orcs, humans, they're all the same ones when they're sewn together. Then he'll also tell you to go out and collect a Kodo's heart and an Alliance officer's brain to complete his process, where he then puts them all together into an abomination and lets them off into the world, saying lines like, "Go forth, my beautiful angel. Ah, it is so very sad when one's child leaves the nest, isn't it?" He's also seen again in the Crucible of Carnage, where you can fight one of his abominations, and again in Mount Hyjal during a daily quest, which involves a lot of NPCs from Cataclysm zones. And he's also a follower in Warlords of Draenor, which can be obtained randomly when recruiting NPCs from the Lunarfall Inn. Now, there's nothing super special about this NPC. It's not a very important lore character and only shows up a handful of times outside of his introduction. And that's kind of what all of these NPCs are going to be like. Just one-off characters who say and do oddball things and are not very lore significant. And at number 9, we have Lunk from the Syrian Gorge. This is an ogre who comes from Badlands and wants to go on an adventure. So we'll first ask you to go retrieve some robot parts for him. But when you come back, he's horrified to learn that you killed the robots in order to obtain those parts. And then we'll run off. And at another point through the zone, when you're on a quest to kill some spiders for their venom, he'll show up and offer you to extract the venom without having to kill them, by riding on their backs so that you can pick off the venom from his stomach. And throughout the zone, he basically just offers you alternatives to completing quests that don't involve killing things, and is routinely horrified at your willingness to just kill anything for almost no reason. Lunk is a pretty funny reference to the fact that players do kill a crap ton of things in order to complete their quests, when it's probably not something they should be doing. The average adventurer probably kills more things in their time getting to max level than any of the bad guys they face in the endgame, even if most of what you kill is animals and bad things. Lunk also shows up as an NPC for the Mount Hyjal daily quests, just like a lot of the memorable NPCs added in Cataclysm, and only heals when you go out on adventures with you. He also showed up in the Lunarfall Inn in your garrison, and would give you a quest to go into an ogre dungeon or to retrieve a family heirloom. And again, the Lunarfall Inn has lots of memorable NPCs from history, so you'll be seeing this a lot in this list as it continues. And at number 8, we have Bud. This is an NPC introduced in the Burning Crusade, which has a quest for you to go to Zul'Aman in order to complete some tasks for him. One of them is retrieving the blood from Zul'Jin himself. All the while, he's constantly berating the character and saying things like he could do it all himself and much easier too. After you give him the blood, he'll take it and throw it to a nearby building to claim the kill for himself, which promptly causes a vengeful spirit to come down and set him on fire, which causes him to go insane. Alliance players will see him in Wrath of the Lich King in the Grizzly Hills, wearing a troll mask. The quest giver will tell you that he's kind of lost his mind, but that he is useful as troll bait. He's seen again in the Cataclysm on a boat that Alliance players take in order to go to Bashir, where he spots something shiny in the water and jumps off the boat right before it gets attacked. And then he also has another quest in that zone where he has you kill a big shark for him. He appears in the intro quest to Oldham, where he suggests you guys should pretend to be Tol'vir in order to escape, which actually ends up working. And the last appearance of Bud was in the garrison, in the Lunarfall Inn, as he had a quest for you to go into the Iron Docks in order to get something shiny for him. All while his mind is still probably not all there, which is part of the reason why this character is somewhat well-liked, to an extent. He definitely fits the oddball theme and shows up a lot.
Oh, yes.
And at number 7, we have Johnny Awesome. This NPC is introduced in the
Johnny
Cataclysm
Awesome.
through the famous
his
quest
lover.
Welcome to the Machine, where you act as a quest giver and tell him to go out to the sludge fields in order to help out Warden Stillwater. And Johnny Awesome was supposed to be made in the likeness of the stereotypical bad but experienced WoW player who's leveling as a hunter, as that was thought to be an easy class back in the day, and is also a very geared alt, as he's fully equipped with heirlooms and even has a Celestial Steed mount. As back in the day, the Celestial Steed was the only mount that could be used at all levels and by all of your alts, before that was made baseline sometime later on. So the average hardcore player that made alts would have been fully decked out in heirlooms and had the Celestial Steed. And Johnny Awesome would get mad when you told him you only had one quest for him, and would ask you if maybe you had some other quest to collect some bear asses or to stop a great apocalypse. Then later on, while questing through the Hillsbred foothills for yourself, you run into Johnny Awesome again, and you find him crying next to Apothecary Leiden, as the crazy Warden Stillwater had his horse killed, and then used his presence as torture for Leiden, since he was so annoying. So you help them out, and then he goes on his way. Johnny Awesome was a very liked character, though, and appears many more times throughout WoW. And in Warlords of Draenor, he even appears in the Lunarfall Inn as a quest giver. And in Legion, he gets converted into a Brawlers Guild boss, and even has a quest associated to him, where you have to return a dropped Invincible from the Lich King that he apparently forgot to loot. And then when you do find him, he tells you the reason he didn't loot it was because he already had one, and he wanted you to take a head of Mimiron to the grave of his old mount, since it was his favorite toy. And he's also seen AFK a couple of times whenever he appears in the game in raid groups, once in front of the Molten Front, and again during the Black Temple-like quest, where you play as Illidan fighting against the raid group that kills him. And at number 6, we have Dumas. This is another NPC which was added in the Cataclysm and also appears in the Welcome to the Machine quest, as he's one of 3 players you have to give a quest to. Dumas is supposed to be the stereotypical new WoW player, as he doesn't know much about the geography or lore of the place, as you tell him to go to Terran Mill and he believes it to be located in the Barren somewhere. He also speaks in all caps and was one of the undead raised by Sylvanas in front of Geralt in the Silver Pine quest chain, as he makes references to this, as some of his dialogue suggests that he was there when Sylvanas killed Worgen, and he was also there when Sylvanas was talking to the big brown orc. Later on in the Hillsbred foothills, you'll run into him like you do the other 2 NPCs you give quests to, and he got himself lost in a mine full of spiders, so you have to save him and escort him out. Although he's so bad at what he's doing that he constantly pulls things and basically tries to get himself killed. No one knows what happened to Dumas after this quest. He most likely got lost trying to go do something else, but he is a fan-favorite character despite only appearing in 2 quests in a random horde zone. Also, his name sounds very similar to a curse word, which is commonly used to refer to someone who has probably done a less than intelligent thing, which is probably why people like him as well.
And yet
And at number 5, we have Gunther Arcanus. This is a random undead in the middle of the undead starting zone, which doesn't actually have any quests associated to him in the live version of the game. However, in Classic WoW, you can actually talk to him and complete a small quest chain for him, where you basically have to prove to him that not all the undead are blind, mind-controlled servants of the Lich King, and that a large faction has broken free. After which, you're able to convince him to join the Forsaken and they gain a powerful Necromancer. Now, one would wonder why this NPC is in the live version of the game at all if they removed his quest, as he doesn't even have dialogue options to talk to him. However, in the beta version of Cataclysm, when they revamped the zone for the first time, they did actually update his quest chain, since the new starting zone takes place after the Lich King is defeated. When you talk to Gunther in the Cataclysm beta, the quest is still kinda the same, where he thinks you're probably a member of the Lich King's army, and doesn't know if the Scourge is still around or not. And when you manage to prove to him that you're not part of the Scourge, he does still say you're a puppet of the Banshee Queen, which opened up some interesting dialogue about how working for Sylvanas was probably not that much different from working for the Lich King. Whatever the case, you are able to eventually convince him to join the Forsaken at the end of the quest chain. And you're even given a quest to talk directly to Sylvanas to tell her that you were able to acquire Gunther Arcanus as part of the Forsaken. And she is very thankful for grabbing such a powerful member. Basically, he's just a powerful lich that you're able to convince to join your cause, and has gained a little bit of notoriety for being a random strong member of the Horde that doesn't have any major lore associated to him, or isn't involved in the lore in any major way. Just kind of a super important NPC out in the middle of nowhere that Blizzard kind of forgot about, which is what makes him so interesting. And at number 4, we have Maximilian of Northshire. This is a quest giver located in the Ungoro crater who is a very
love this guy.
disillusioned man who thinks all of the dinosaurs around him are actually
Dargans!
dragons, and has you go out on a couple of quests in order to save people he thinks are in trouble, but actually just puts them into more danger. And the quest chain ends with you running away from a T-Rex while he throws all of his clothes at it to get it off its track. Like with most humorous characters, he was well loved by the community, so he was brought back in future expansions. He shows up in the Frostwall Tavern in Warlords of Draenor in order to offer some quests, then shows up in Legion and can be recruited as a follower if you're a paladin, and can even be seen fighting demons during demon invasions in High Mountain. It's pretty rare for joke characters to be added to the story in such a way that they also become a follower that can be recruited as part of the gameplay, which really puts them into legendary status when it comes to favorite characters in WoW, and is an excellent example of what this list is all about. And at number 3, we have Zenkiki the Druid. Just like with pretty much every other character on this list so far, save Gunther Arcanus, you first meet Zenkiki in a quest in Cataclysm, in the zone of the Western Plaguelands, where you're given the task of helping train Zenkiki since he's kind of an incompetent
He's a
druid.
noob.
Where you go out with him, he'll occasionally help you out in fighting the NPCs you need for the quest, and will sometimes damage himself by spamming moonfires in the wrong location. And like most loved NPCs from Cataclysm, he shows up later on in Mount Hydril fighting against Ragnaros, is brought over to Warlords of Draenor as a quest giver in the Lunar Fall or Frostwall Tavern, and shows up again in Legion in the Druid Order Hall. Although his appearances don't stop there, he also shows up again in BFA as part of the Cenarian Circle, and their reinforcements trying to heal the wounds in Silthus, as you can see him near Magni every time you go to the Chamber of the Heart, just hanging out with other druids, pretending like he's
chilling.
not incompetent. Out of all the oddball NPCs, Zenkiki shows up probably the most, mainly because a lot of the things have been involving druids, and he is an excellent NPC to just place in whenever they need some comic relief. And at number 2, we have Millhouse Manastorm. Millhouse Manastorm first appears as an NPC in the Arcatraz dungeon in the Burning Crusade, as one of the options in the final fight to appear instead of an extra mini-boss, and will help you fight the final boss by casting his major abilities. And some people grew to like his overconfident dialogue
open a can
options,
of
so he made a
whoop-ass.
return in the Cataclysm. As it turns out, he joined the Twilight's Hammer cult, and even appears in the Stonecore dungeon, and has a whole host of followers at his command, though they all immediately get destroyed by the first boss of the dungeon who just knocks them all out of the way. Then in Mists of Pandaria, when they introduce the Brawlers Guild, Millhouse Manastorm shows up as one of the bosses you can fight, stating that Stonecore was merely a setback. In Warlords of Draenor, he shows up in the Lunarfall Inn when you advance it to level 2, however, not as a daily quest giver, instead as a quest that allows him to join your garrison, as he tells you he's changed his ways and needs help collecting a piece of equipment for his humanitarian projects. And then you can send him off on missions, and he was actually a pretty useful follower to have back in the day, since he started off as Epic and at max level. Then in Legion, he also becomes a follower for the Mage class, and is involved in a couple of quests required to advance the class campaign, and even reveals that his wife is imprisoned in the Violent Hold, named Maleficent Manastorm, who is one of the available heroes to play in Hearthstone Battlegrounds, which is kind of hilarious that an offshoot of a minor character that people liked made it into Hearthstone as one of the main playable characters in one of their modes, which Millhouse Manastorm is also part of that as well. He was also one of the strongest heroes you could pick in Battlegrounds for a while, and is also involved in a lot of other things in Legion. Blizzard loves to add Millhouse Manastorm whenever they can. There's also a toy item that lets you transform into Millhouse, which none of the other NPCs have. Millhouse Manastorm was a joke character added that kind of took a life of his own, and is probably one of the more well-known joke characters to the common WoW player base. I'm pretty sure
can't
many
believe
people
you
have heard
didn't
of
even
him,
show
even if they
part
haven't
in
heard
the
of any of the
dungeon.
other NPCs I talked about so far. Save probably Gunther Arcanus, since he shows up quite a bit in some of my other videos. However, the number 1 spot on this list was definitely the NPC I had in mind when I first started writing this video, and I think he definitely edges out Millhouse Manastorm, even if he's not anywhere near as
Really?
well known or featured in the game. And at number 1, we have Crow Threadstrong, more commonly known as the Fruit Vendor. Crow Threadstrong is an NPC located in Shathtrath, introduced in the Burning Crusade expansion, who simply runs a leatherworking shop and sells leatherwork and supplies to players, but he's very well known for yelling at the fruit vendor, and if you ever wait in Shattrath for an amount of time, you'll be able to read his dialogues as he's constantly yelling at this imagined fruit vendor, where he'll say things like, "Fruit vendor, your cart is still in our way. We will give you 1 more hour to move it from our area. Do not test our patience anymore. Does the fruit vendor not value his life? You are running out of time, fruit vendor. Ha, I crushed an apple. Fruit vendor, this will not be the last." However, Crow doesn't know that this cart belongs to Granny Smith, and thinks it belongs to a fellow orc named Dermari, and doesn't believe her when she keeps telling him who the cart actually belongs to. As the expansion progressed, Blizzard actually added new dialogues to him with 3 of the Burning Crusade patches, where he just continues his tirade of yelling at the supposed fruit vendor and telling her to get the cart out of his way, saying that her ogre bodyguard doesn't scare him. In the Cataclysm, he and Dermari can sometimes randomly be shown together in the Darkmoon Fair, where he relishes in the fact that there's no apple carts to be seen. Apparently, Crow came into existence because of a miscommunication during the development of Shattrath, where they accidentally decorated the leatherworking area with a fruit cart. But due to time constraints and not noticing it soon enough, they didn't have enough time to change it, so instead the designers responsible for the NPC just came up with a backstory to explain it away, which is where the dialogues with them constantly yelling at the fruit vendor came into existence, and people loved it so much they kept updating the story and including him in future expansions. In Warlords of Draenor, he's one of the random NPCs that can show up when you see the photobomb toy. He also appears in the Frostwall Tavern as a quest giver, with one of the quests he gives you awarding you the Fruit Basket toy, which allows you to throw fruit at an enemy NPC in order to tag them for combat, which was actually a pretty important toy when it comes to the history of WoW. You see, this toy gives melee classes a way to tag mobs that are at range, since it has a 30-yard range and puts them in combat. But also, since this toy doesn't do any damage, during Warlords of Draenor it was used inside raids in order to proc the activation of trinkets before combat, since it could be used against certain things in order to be counted as an attack without actually doing any damage. And it was so useful that Blizzard had to hotfix the toy to no longer work inside raid instances. And then later on, they kind of made it so any combat-capable toys no longer worked inside instances, and a lot of those hotfixes can be directly related back to the Fruit Basket, which is funny that an item given to a joke character indirectly made its mark on the game in an actual, tangible way. Now, while Crow Threadstrong hasn't shown up again since Warlords of Draenor, he did briefly appear in the Legion Alpha in the Hall of Shadows, which was the Rogue's Order Hall. While he was removed, they did leave Granny Smith there, who was the original fruit vendor that Crow Threadstrong never knew about. And it's a wonder why they didn't include him as well, but then again it doesn't really make sense that Granny Smith was there in the first place, so that's kind of an understandable exclusion. Alright, and that's the video. Do you know of any other oddball NPCs that should have made this list that I may have missed? If so, I'd love to hear about them down in the comments, or potential future videos similar to this one. This video was edited by The Flying Buttress, links to his channel and stuff in the video description if you liked his work. And also, fun fact.
So, for the well, I can't really call him a non-WoW player anymore, but for the non-WoW literate, yeah, Millhouse is freaking awesome. Okay, Gammon started out as a little Tauren NPC in the inn in Orgrimmar.
I don't know which one to pay attention to.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll direct it here. He was a little Tauren NPC in Orgrimmar, and I think it was Rogues got a quest to either like pick his pocket or kill him or something. I don't know. There was only like one quest in the game that had anything to do with him. But so there's this random neutral character in an inn in Orgrimmar, like he should be friendly, but he's neutral so that the rogues could do whatever they needed to do to him or whoever it was. So then an expansion comes along where we're attacking Orgrimmar, and where the faction has like split, and now Orgrimmar is a raid, and he's like in here with his axe, just a swinging. He like you were in Fallout. He's just a swinging. And and then there's even an achievement where like you get him to do something, and so he's just kind of followed us around. He's become this big bad guy that's part of the horde, and he started out as just this little freaking peon, because he got killed every 2 seconds. In Orgrimmar, you were just constantly hearing this thunk, and it was Gammon. So yeah, he definitely belonged on this list. Okay. Next video. Actually, let me I need to do something. I need to do a thing real quick. I gotta cut camp for a second. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa! Bad angle! Or good angle, depending on... Yeah, anyway. We're back. Nothing happened. This one is Last Chance 5 must-dos before Shadowlands pre-patch and launch of WoW BFA guide. And then it's from Lazy Beast.
Hello guys, Lazy Beast here. Hope you're doing well today. So Shadowlands is very nearly here. Pre-patch is on PTR, beta's in full swing. Pre-patch will possibly around by the end of this month, the end of September, the first couple of weeks of October, fingers crossed. We've got a release date for Shadowlands, so time is cracking on. So I've got a little list of 5 things that you might want to do before you don't have chance anymore, and a few extra things at the end that you can still do in Shadowlands but are just going to be considerably harder to do or take a lot more time. So you may have already seen lists, but this has been requested a few times on this channel, so I thought I'd put a little video together for you guys just out of respect because you asked and I want to help you guys out, so there we go. So number 1 is killing N'Zoth. So you probably want to kill him on Heroic to get your ahead of the curve achievement and the mount. The achievement will be gone when the pre-patch drops, but the mount, the Uncorrupted Void, will still be available when you kill N'Zoth on Heroic up until Shadowlands launches. So you've got a bit more time for the mount, you've not got a lot of time to kill him on Heroic. If killing Mythic N'Zoth is something that's possible for you, if you've got the guild and stuff to do so and you're a good enough player, then obviously you want to get that done, but you're going to be well aware of this already. So killing Mythic N'Zoth, you've got a guaranteed chance to get a mount from him, the Nyloth All-Seer, which when Shadowlands drops, this will become like a 1% around about that kind of ballpark drop chance, as they usually do when the expansion changes. So that's raiding, and then you've got your Battle for Azeroth Keystone Master, so this is doing all the 15s in time. Every dungeon in Battle for Azeroth on a plus 15 done in time. It's definitely still possible. If you're someone new or you've come to the game, you're going to need to gear up, which can take weeks and you don't have much time. But it is still possible. You should definitely still try if this is something you really want to do, so give it a shot. You could also maybe just aim to do all the dungeons on a plus 10 timed run to get the Awakened title. Now doing things like this is good going into Shadowlands. You may think, what's the point, it's the end of the expansion. But if people see, again, next time when the Shadowlands Mythic Plus comes out, that you've been a player that's been able to achieve those goals, then they'll, they might see you when you're in group finder and think, yep, this person's a good player, we'll get them in the group. So it could serve you well going into Shadowlands. Then onto PvP, so there's the Elite PvP sets, so you need 1800 rating to get the full set. You won't get the Cloak or Tabard because that's a bit higher rating, but you get the full set
same crap that's
from
every
1800.
patch. I thought it would at least
You can do it in 2s or 3s, so it's totally up to you. It's a funny time for PvP, obviously, with corruption and stuff, so again, if you're not that geared already, then this could be very difficult, but getting 1800 should be achievable, and it's something you could aim for, and you won't be able to do it once the pre-patch comes out because the season will then end. There is the Mad World achievement from Horrific Visions. Now this gives the title the Faceless One, and this is basically from doing a 5-mask full clear of both Stormwind and Orgrimmar in the Horrific Visions. So you'll be able to do this when Shadowlands launches still, but because of the changes and the systems will be different, you can't do the achievement in Shadowlands. So yeah, you need to do both Orgrimmar and Stormwind, so it will take you like 2 weeks. You've got to wait for them to change over to do the alternate one if you've not already done it. This is very, very doable. Like, you could probably do this on a character, anything from like 455 eye level and upwards, as long as you know what you're doing. It might take you a few tries. It's very infuriating. There's a few guides out there. I've got one on this channel with some tips that'll serve you well when you're doing your runs.
Level,
so check them out if that's something you want to aim for. Now this next one is not something you're going to be able to do if you're only just starting now. So the essences, they've got the rank 4 essences, which just give them a little visual update and they look really cool. There's an achievement for doing that, which is really nice. It gives you a lovely title as well. If you want the achievement, it's going to be an incredible amount of work. It's very difficult to get, so you do need to be a long way into doing this already to stand a chance of getting it at this stage in the game. It's a cool achievement and title nonetheless, so if you can aim for this, if you're close, you might as well finish it off now before you don't have a chance. So that's the main bulk of stuff. Now here's a few things that will just be a lot harder to do in Shadowlands when it launches. So obviously anybody that's been into gold making, aiming for the Caravan Brutosaur, the Longboy, that won't be available to buy for 5 million gold from the vendor like it is currently now, but it will be available at some point on the black market auction house, but it's going to be very contested. The prices of that are probably going to go all the way to gold cap for the first, good few times that it appears on the black market auction house. So unless getting to gold cap is something that's on your list of things to do to buy the Caravan Brutosaur, you might as well just push really hard now and get it before it's not available. One thing I really suggest you do with the leveling changes is if you do not have a Demon Hunter or a Death Knight, just make one now. Like, just make one now, because what's going to happen is Demon Hunters currently start at level 110, Death Knights currently start at level 58. That will change when the pre-patch goes live, and both of those classes will start at level 8, which is a massive downgrade obviously from what they currently start at now. If you just make the character, literally just customize it and create the character, then it will still scale down. And I think, I'm not sure exactly what it'll be, but like the Demon Hunter, for example, at level 110, that will be, you know, nearly level 50. I'm not sure exactly where, but it'll be a lot better than just being level 8. So if you, even if you don't intend on ever playing the character, then just make it anyway. It's only one character slot, and you never know, you might go back in the future and wish you'd have done this sooner. And then the final little thing is just island expeditions. Obviously, not many people find these fun, but you'll still be able to do these again when Shadowlands goes live, but hardly anybody is going to be doing these. It's just going to be like the hardcore collectors and stuff doing this. So they may make them solo queuable, which will solve the problem for the PvE ones, but for the PvP ones, you're going to need a team to do this, and there's some achievements there that are quite, you know, you might want to do these to complete them.
No, people are doing them now.
Little rewards you can get from there.
They won't be doing them after
ones are still going to need to queue up. I'm
probably for a while
in the
after pre-patch
3v3
hits, and then
team,
definitely
they
not
may
after
make
the
it so you can queue
expansion
up as
release.
like 1v1, but obviously you're going to need an opponent on the other side to actually get the island to pop the queue. So it's going to be a lot difficult to get these done. So basically, guys, there we go. That is things you can do before.
Alright, that's the end of that. And again, that was Lazy Beast Gaming on YouTube. So go check them out if you like that. And I think that's it for this stream. We enjoyed reacting to some things, talking about some things, having some fun, getting insulted a little bit, but that's okay, because it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But regardless, I heart you, so please heart me.